What is Burger Shot? When people think about the Grand Theft Auto universe, they usually think about crime, chaos, and unforgettable characters. But hidden beneath the heists, gang wars, and high speed police chases is a world filled with fictional corporations that make Rockstar's cities feel alive. Few companies are more recognizable than Burger Shot. From the neon streets of Vice City to the sprawling urban landscape of Los Santos, Burger Shot has remained one of the most enduring brands in GTA history. For decades, players have walked past its restaurants, listened to its outrageous advertisements on the radio, and consumed its infamous menu items, including burgers with names like the Bleeder, the Money Shot, and the legendary Heartstopper. But Burger Shot is more than just a parody of American fast food. It represents Rockstar Games' ongoing satire of consumer culture, corporate greed, unhealthy eating habits, and the commercialization of everyday life. Across multiple GTA games and universes, the company has evolved from a simple health restoration restaurant into a massive corporate empire with locations spanning several states and cities. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the complete history of Burger Shot. We'll explore its origins, its rise to prominence, and its most infamous products and advertisements, its rivalry with competing chains, and how it became one of the most iconic fictional businesses ever created in a video game. This is the complete history of Burger Shot. The story of Burger Shot begins in 1986 during the events of Grand Theft Auto Vice City. At this point in GTA history, Burger Shot wasn't yet the massive fast food empire players would come to recognize in later games. Instead, it existed as a relatively modest restaurant known as the Burger Shot, located inside of the North Point Mall in Vice City. For many players, this location served as a simple purpose. It was one of the several businesses that could restore Tommy Vercetti's health, functioning as a convenient stop between missions and criminal ventures. While the restaurant itself played no major role in the story, its inclusion helped establish something that would become a hallmark of Rockstar's world building: believable corporate brands that existed alongside the game's characters and locations. Even in its earliest appearance, Burger Shot already carried the DNA that would define the company for decades. The restaurant's branding, menu design, and overall presentation were clearly inspired by real-world American fast food giants. Rockstar was beginning to build a parody of the fast food industry, one that would become increasingly exaggerated and satirical with each new installment in the series. What's particularly interesting is how little players knew about Burger Shot at the time. There was no massive advertising campaigns, no infamous Heartstopper burger, and no sprawling chain of locations stretching across multiple states. It was simply another business in Vice City's growing economy. Yet, looking back, this small mall restaurant would prove to be a foundation of the most recognizable corporation in the entire Grand Theft Auto universe. In many ways, Burger Shot's appearance in Vice City mirrors the real world growth of fast food franchises. Every empire has to start somewhere. And for Burger Shot, that starting point was in a single location tucked inside of a shopping mall during the neon soaked excess of the 1980s. Players at the time likely viewed it as nothing more than a place to grab health before heading back into the streets. But Rockstar had quietly planted the seeds for a brand that would continue appearing for decades, surviving multiple generations of games, multiple GTA universes, and countless changes to the series itself. The humble Burger Shot of 1986 may not have looked impressive, but it marked the beginning of a fast food dynasty. By 1992, Burger Shot had transformed from a relatively small restaurant chain into one of the largest fast food corporations in the state of San Andreas. When players stepped into Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, it became immediately clear that Burger Shot was no longer just a background business. The company had expanded aggressively across the state, opening locations in Los Santos, San Fierro, Las Venturas, and numerous smaller communities. Its restaurants had become a familiar sight throughout San Andreas, making the chain one of the most recognizable brands in the game's world. This expansion also marked a major evolution in gameplay. Unlike its appearance in Vice City, Burger Shot locations were now fully accessible. Players could walk inside, approach the counter, and purchase meals directly. More importantly, these meals were tied into one of San Andreas' most ambitious mechanics, CJ's body weight system. For the first time in GTA history, what the player ate actually mattered. Consuming large meals at Burger Shot could increase Carl Johnson's body fat, affecting his appearance and physical performance. Players who regularly visited the restaurant and ignored exercise would watch CJ gradually gain weight. Combined with the gym system and overall character customization, Burger Shot became an important part of San Andreas' simulation of everyday life. The menu itself reflected Rockstar's growing sense of satire. Meals featured oversized portions and increasingly absurd names that mocked the fast food industry's obsession with excess. Burgers were larger, meals were heavier, and nutrition was clearly not a priority. The company's rapid expansion through San Andreas also demonstrated Burger Shot's growing influence with the GTA universe. No longer confined to a single shopping mall location, the chain had become a statewide institution. Billboards, storefronts, advertisements, and restaurants could be found almost everywhere players traveled.
911, what is your emergency?
Oh, I think my heart stopped. The left side of my face has gone numb.
Are you calling for Burger Shot?
The Heartstopper, the all-new tower of a meal at Burger Shot. It's the 6-pound burger you can't live without. The Heartstopper, 7 patties, 6 pounds of meat and cheese. You'll be flatlined in 5 seconds flat.
This is a fucking good burger.
Drive in, take out. Burger Shot. Die with a smile on your face.
Perhaps the most memorable connection between Burger Shot and the story of San Andreas came through OG Loc. After his release from prison, OG Loc worked at a Burger Shot restaurant as part of his parole conditions. Several missions brought players directly to the restaurant, turning the chain into a recognizable location within the main storyline itself. By the end of San Andreas, Burger Shot had firmly established itself as one of Rockstar's most important fictional corporations. What began as a simple health restoration restaurant in Vice City had evolved into a fast food giant woven directly into gameplay, world building, and the narrative of the game. The expansion of Burger Shot during 1992 wasn't just growth for the company. It was the moment the brand became a permanent part of Grand Theft Auto history. While Burger Shot played an important role in the growth of San Andreas, one of the chain's most memorable contributions to GTA lore came through a character many fans still remember today, OG Loc. When players first meet Jeffrey OG Loc Cross, he had just been released from prison and dreams of becoming a famous rapper. Despite his enormous confidence, Loc's music career is virtually non-existent, and his ambitions far exceed his actual talent. To support himself after his release, OG Loc takes a job at Burger Shot restaurant in Los Santos. The position is far from glamorous, but it serves as one of the first glimpses into his life before his attempted rise to fame. Burger Shot becomes the backdrop for several missions involving OG Loc, making the restaurant more than just a place where players could purchase food. For many players, these missions created some of the most memorable interactions associated with the chain. The contrast between OG Loc's dreams of becoming a superstar and his reality as a fast food employee perfectly reflects one of Rockstar's favorite themes, the gap between ambition and reality. Loc constantly talks about becoming a successful rapper, yet players find him struggling every day with responsibilities and relying on others to advance his career. This connection also helped humanize Burger Shot as it was part of the world of San Andreas. The restaurant wasn't simply a business that existed for gameplay purposes. It employed people. Characters worked there, interacted there, and built parts of their lives around it. In many ways, OG Loc's employment at Burger Shot represents the chain's growing integration into GTA storytelling. The company was no longer just a satirical fast food brand. It had become a genuine part of the game's world and narrative. Even years later, many fans still associate Burger Shot with OG Loc's unforgettable missions, his questionable rap career, and his relentless pursuit of fame. While his music may never have conquered San Andreas, his connection to Burger Shot remains one of the most iconic moments in the history of the franchise. By the mid 2000s, Rockstar Games was preparing for one of the biggest changes in Grand Theft Auto history. The PlayStation 2 era was ending, and a new generation of hardware was about to completely transform the series. Along with improved graphics, larger worlds, and more realistic gameplay, Rockstar introduced an entirely new continuity known as the HD universe. This transition officially began with Grand Theft Auto 4 in 2008. For many fictional companies within the GTA universe, the shift to the HD era meant redesigns, branding, or complete reinvention. Burger Shot was no exception. Although Burger Shot continued to exist in the HD universe, this wasn't necessarily the same exact company players had known throughout the 3D universe. Rockstar treats the 3D universe and the HD universe as separate continuities, meaning events from games like Vice City and San Andreas are not directly connected to the world of GTA 4 and GTA 5. However, certain brands were considered iconic enough to survive the transition. Burger Shot easily was one of them. The company returned with updated logos, even redesigned restaurants, new advertising campaigns, and even a stronger focus on satire. Rockstar took in everything that made Burger Shot memorable in the earlier games and amped it up a notch for a new generation of players. The chain's corporate image became more aggressive, more absurd, and reflective of the modern fast food culture. Advertisements openly celebrated unhealthy eating habits, menu items became larger and more ridiculous, marketing campaigns focused on excess rather than quality. This version of Burger Shot wasn't just selling burgers, it was an exaggerated vision of American consumerism. The HD universe also allowed Rockstar to expand the company's lore significantly. Burger Shot was now portrayed as a massive national corporation with stock market listings, extensive advertising networks, sponsorship deals, and locations spread across multiple cities and states. Rather than just functioning as a place to restore health, Burger Shot became a fully realized corporation with its own culture, branding, and identity. For longtime GTA fans, seeing Burger Shot return helped establish a sense of familiarity within this new universe. Liberty City might look different, the characters might be different, the technology might be different, but Burger Shot was still there, continuing its mission of serving some of the most unhealthy food imaginable. The transition into the HD universe marked the beginning of Burger Shot's most detailed and expansive era, setting the stage for its rise of one of the most fully developed corporations in the entire Grand Theft Auto franchise. When Grand Theft Auto 4 launched in 2008, Burger Shot entered what many fans consider its golden age. Unlike its relatively modest appearances in, previous games, Burger Shot was now portrayed as a massive corporate powerhouse operating throughout Liberty City and beyond. The company had expanded far beyond its origins, establishing itself as one of the most recognizable and influential fast food chains in the HD universe. Throughout Liberty City, Burger Shot locations could be found in nearly every borough. Brightly lit restaurants, billboards, radio advertisements, and promotional campaigns ensured that the company's presence was impossible to ignore. No matter where players traveled, Burger Shot seemed to be waiting around the corner. This era also gave players the first detailed look at the corporation itself. Burger Shot was presented not simply as a restaurant chain, but as a major publicly traded company. The corporation was listed on the Liberty City National Exchange under the symbol BGR, suggesting that Burger Shot had grown into a national business with investors, shareholders, and significant economic influence. The company's marketing reflected Rockstar's increasingly sharp satire of modern fast food culture. Advertisements proudly promoted unhealthy eating habits, oversized portions, and questionable nutritional choices. Rather than hiding the dangers of its products, Burger Shot often appeared to celebrate them. This approach was perfectly captured through some of the chain's most infamous menu items. Customers could order meals such as the Bleeder, the Money Shot, and the Torpedo. However, no item became more legendary than the Heartstopper. According to the in-game advertising, the Heartstopper contained an absurd amount of meat and cheese, and was marketed with a level of enthusiasm that made the product sound more dangerous than delicious. These exaggerated menu items became some of the most memorable examples of Rockstar's parody writing. Burger Shot wasn't simply selling fast food, it was selling danger. The company also became woven into the daily lives of Liberty City's residents. Nico Bellic could visit Burger Shot locations to restore health, while friends and associates occasionally invited him to restaurants during social outings. These interactions helped Liberty City feel like a functioning urban environment rather than just a backdrop for missions. Perhaps most importantly, GTA 4 transformed Burger Shot from a recurring brand into a fully realized corporation. The chain now had its own website, advertisements, employees, financial presence, and corporate identity. Rockstar had built an entire fictional business ecosystem around the company. By the end of GTA 4, Burger Shot had become far more than a fast food restaurant. It had evolved into one of the defining corporations of the HD universe and a permanent fixture of the Grand Theft Auto's world building. For many players, this was the moment Burger Shot truly became a GTA icon. While Burger Shot's expansion across Liberty City helped establish the company as a corporate giant, its menu is what truly cemented its place in Grand Theft Auto history. Unlike real fast food chains that are at least pretend to care about nutrition, Burger Shot's menu proudly embraces excess. Every item is designed to be bigger, greasier, and more ridiculous than the last, serving as Rockstar's exaggerated parody of the fast food industry's obsession with larger portions and more indulgent products. Among Burger Shot's most famous offerings is the Bleeder. At first glance, the name sounds unusual for a burger. That's exactly the point. Rockstar intentionally gave the product a name that sounds less like food and more like a medical emergency. The Bleeder became the chain's signature burger throughout the HD universe and appeared prominently in advertisements, promotional materials, and restaurant signage. But even the Bleeder would eventually be overshadowed by something far more infamous, the Heartstopper. Widely regarded as Burger Shot's flagship creation, the Heartstopper perfectly represents everything the company stands for. Rather than marking the burger as a healthy, fresh, or nutritious burger, Burger Shot's advertising openly embraced the dangers associated with consuming it. In one of the company's most memorable radio commercials, the Heartstopper is described as containing a massive amount of meat and cheese stacked together in a single burger. The advertisement proudly presents this absurd creation as the ultimate fast food experience, turning what should be a health warning into a selling point. The joke is obvious but effective. Real-world fast food companies often compete by offering larger burgers and bigger portions. Burger Shot takes that concept to its logical extreme, creating a product that's so unhealthy that its very name suggests the consequences of eating it. The menu doesn't stop there. Additional offerings include the Money Shot and the Torpedo, both of which continue Rockstar's tradition of suggestive naming and over-the-top marketing. These products help establish Burger Shot's unique brand identity within the GTA universe, separating it from competitors while reinforcing the company's reputation for outrageous advertising. What makes these menu items feel so memorable is that they're not just simply random jokes. They contribute to Rockstar's broader satire of American consumer culture, and Burger Shot's products reflect a world where corporations have abandoned subtlety altogether, openly celebrating unhealthy lifestyles in pursuit of profit. Over the years, fans have come to view the Bleeder and the Heartstopper as more than just fictional menu items. They've become symbols of Burger Shot itself, instantly recognizable pieces of GTA lore that continue to be referenced throughout the series. Few fictional restaurants have ever created menu items as iconic as the Heartstopper, and in many ways, that's exactly why Burger Shot remains one of Rockstar's greatest fictional creations. If Burger Shot's menu established the company's identity, its advertisements are what transformed the chain into one of the funniest and most memorable corporations in the Grand Theft Auto universe. Throughout both the 3D and the HD universe, Rockstar used the Burger Shot commercials as a vehicle for satire. These advertisements weren't designed to convince players that the food looked appetizing, but instead, they exaggerated everything wrong with the modern fast food marketing and pushed those ideas to absurd extremes. Most real-world restaurants attempt to promote freshness, quality ingredients, or healthy options. Burger Shot takes the opposite approach. Its advertisements openly celebrate unhealthy eating habits, massive portion sizes, and complete disregard for nutrition. Rather than hiding the dangers associated with fast food, Burger Shot proudly embraces them as selling points. One of the most famous examples appears in Grand Theft Auto 4's radio commercials. The advertisement introduces the Heartstopper burger, a towering sandwich loaded with excessive amounts of meat and cheese. Instead of presenting this as a concern, the commercial treats it as a revolutionary achievement. The entire advertisement is delivered with the same enthusiasm and excitement found in real fast food marketing campaigns, making the satire even more effective. This approach perfectly captures Rockstar's sense of humor. Burger Shot advertisements operate under the assumption that consumers no longer care about health consequences as long as the food is bigger, cheaper, and more accessible than the competition. The company portrays itself as a business that has completely abandoned moderation in favor of endless consumption. The slogans are equally memorable. Over the years, Burger Shot has been associated with phrases such as, "Kill your hunger," "It's bleedin' tasty," and "Die with a smile on your face." These slogans blur the line between advertising and warning labels, turning potentially alarming statements into marketing tools. The commercials also reveal a great deal about the fictional world of Grand Theft Auto. They suggest a society where corporations compete for attention, though increasingly outrageous campaigns, pushing consumer culture to ridiculous extremes. Burger Shot isn't merely selling burgers, it's selling excess as a lifestyle. Many fans consider these advertisements to be some of Rockstar's best examples of environmental storytelling. Players don't need to read a company's history or corporate reports to understand what Burger Shot represents. A single radio commercial is often enough to communicate the company's entire philosophy. By combining dark humor, social commentary, and absurd marketing tactics, Burger Shot advertisements became an essential part of the franchise's identity. Even players who rarely visited the restaurants themselves often remember the commercials years after finishing the games. In a series known for its sharp satire of American culture, Burger Shot's advertising campaigns stand as some of Rockstar's most effective and entertaining pieces of world building. For years, Burger Shot stood virtually unchallenged as the most recognizable burger chain in the Grand Theft Auto universe. From Vice City to Liberty City, the company had built a fast food empire that seemed impossible to compete with. Then came Up and Atom Burger. Introduced in the HD Universe era and heavily featured throughout Grand Theft Auto 5 and Grand Theft Auto Online. Up and Atom quickly emerged as Burger Shot's biggest competitor. While Burger Shot represented the established giant of the industry, Up and Atom positioned itself as a newer, trendier alternative, creating one of the most interesting corporate rivalries in GTA lore. The inspiration behind Up and Atom is immediately obvious. Much like Burger Shot parodies major fast food corporations such as Burger King and McDonald's. Up and Atom serves as Rockstar's parody of the popular West Coast chain In-N-Out Burger. Its branding, menu design, and restaurant aesthetics all reflect the culture of regional burger chains that have developed devoted followings in the real world. This created an interesting contrast between the two companies. Burger Shot thrives on excess. Its advertisements promote oversized burgers, unhealthy eating habits, and slogans that sounded more like health warnings than marketing campaigns. The chain embraces its reputation for greasy food and questionable nutrition. Up and Atom, by comparison, presents itself as a cleaner and more modern alternative. While still clearly a part of Rockstar's satire, its branding is less aggressive and often focuses on quality, freshness, and customer satisfaction. As Los Santos became the centerpiece of GTA 5, players began encountering both chains throughout the city. Billboards, storefronts, radio advertisements, and merchandise reinforced the idea that these companies were competing for consumers across San Andreas. Although Rockstar never depicts a direct corporate war between two businesses, the rivalry exists throughout the game's world building. Each chain attempts to establish its own identity while subtly positioning itself against the competition. For a long time, GTA fans, their arrival of Up and Atom marked the first serious challenge to Burger Shot's dominance. After years of being the face of fast food in the GTA universe, Burger Shot suddenly had a competitor capable of rivaling its popularity. Interestingly, the rivalry mirrors real-world fast food competition. Just as major restaurant chains constantly battle for market share, brand recognition, and customer loyalty, Burger Shot and Up and Atom represent competing visions of the same industry. One embraces excess and corporate absurdity, and the other embraces image and regional popularity. Together, they help keep the world of Grand Theft Auto feel more realistic and alive. Even today, fans continue debating which fictional restaurant they would choose if both existed in real life. While Up and Atom has gained a massive following among GTA players, Burger Shot remains as the original king of fast food within Rockstar's universe. And after decades of growth, expansion, and unforgettable advertising campaigns, Burger Shot isn't giving up its crown without a fight. One of the most fascinating aspects of Burger Shot is how much lore exists beneath the surface. While most players recognize the chain for its restaurants and advertisements, Rockstar has quietly built an extensive corporate history throughout websites, radio broadcasts, background details, and minor characters scattered throughout the GTA universe. Much of this information is easy to miss during normal gameplay. Unlike major storylines that unfold through missions, Burger Shot's deeper lore is often hidden in advertisements, company websites, stock market information, and passing references made by characters throughout the series. These details help transform Burger Shot from a simple fast food chain into a fully realized corporation. One example comes from Burger Shot's presence in the financial world of the HD universe. The company is listed on the Liberty City National Exchange under the stock symbol BGR, suggesting that it operates as a major publicly traded corporation. This small detail implies a vast business structure involving shareholders, executives, marketing departments, and nationwide expansion effort. The company also maintains its own fictional website, further reinforcing the idea that Burger Shot exists as a legitimate corporation within the world of Grand Theft Auto. Visitors can find promotional material, product advertisements, and corporate messaging that perfectly captures the company's over-the-top personality. Beyond the corporation itself, Rockstar has occasionally revealed the information about the individual employees connected to Burger Shot. Several characters throughout the HD universe are associated with the company either directly or indirectly. These references help create the impression that thousands of people work within Burger Shot's corporate network, from restaurant employees and managers to executives and advertisers. One particularly interesting aspect of Burger Shot's lore is how seriously Rockstar treats the company despite its obvious comedic nature. While the advertisements are intentionally absurd, the corporation's infrastructure feels surprisingly realistic. It has locations across multiple cities, recognizable branding, sponsorships, promotional partnerships, and an established place within the economy of GTA. The company has even appeared in areas far removed from food service. Burger Shot branding can be found on merchandise, racing sponsorships, promotional events, and various forms of advertising throughout the HD universe. These appearances suggest that Burger Shot has expanded beyond its restaurants and become a cultural institution. This attention to detail is part of what makes Rockstar's world building so effective. Rather than creating a simple parody restaurant and leaving it at that, the developers built an entire corporate ecosystem around Burger Shot. Every advertisement, logo, website, and employee reference contributes to a larger picture of how the company operates. For casual players, Burger Shot may simply be a place to grab a burger. For lore enthusiasts, however, it represents one of the most fully developed fictional corporations in gaming history. The deeper you dig into Burger Shot's background, the more impressive Rockstar's attention to detail becomes. When Grand Theft Auto V launched in 2013, Burger Shot returned once again, proving that the company had become one of Rockstar's most enduring fictional brands. Although Burger Shot remained a recognizable part of Los Santos, its role had changed significantly compared to earlier games. Players could no longer walk into most locations and order food as they would in San Andreas or Grand Theft Auto 4. Instead, Burger Shot became a part of the environmental storytelling that defines the HD universe. Its restaurants still existed throughout the city. Its advertisements remained visible on billboards, storefronts, and commercial properties. Its logos continued appearing across Los Santos and Blaine County. But Burger Shot had evolved into something larger than a gameplay mechanic. It became a permanent piece of GTA's cultural landscape. As GTA Online expanded through the years of updates, Rockstar continued finding new ways to keep Burger Shot relevant. The company's branding appeared in promotional materials, clothing items, vehicle liveries, racing sponsorships, and various pieces of environmental detail scattered throughout the entire game. This approach reflected the growing scale of GTA Online itself. Rather than focusing solely on missions and storylines, Rockstar increasingly emphasized world building through recurring corporations and brands. Burger Shot became one of the most visible examples of this philosophy. The chain also benefited from GTA Online's constantly evolving setting. New businesses, properties, and updates frequently introduced fresh opportunities for Burger Shot references, allowing the company to remain present even when it wasn't directly involved in gameplay. For longtime fans, these appearances served as reminders of Burger Shot's long history within the franchise. Players who remembered visiting Burger Shot locations in Vice City, San Andreas, or Liberty City could still see the company's influence throughout modern Los Santos. Perhaps the most impressive aspect of Burger Shot's GTA Online era is its longevity. Few fictional businesses have managed to remain relevant across multiple gaming generations, multiple console generations, and multiple decades of real-world development. Yet Burger Shot has continued appearing throughout nearly every major era of Grand Theft Auto. What began as a small restaurant in a Vice City shopping mall has grown into a multinational fast food giant recognized by millions of players around the world. By the time GTA Online became one of the most successful online games ever created, Burger Shot had already secured its place in gaming history. It was no longer simply a restaurant. It was a GTA institution. And even after decades of expansion, outrageous advertisements, questionable menu items, and fierce competition, Burger Shot remains one of the most iconic fictional corporations Rockstar Games has ever created. One of the reasons Burger Shot feels so believable is because it was never created in a vacuum. Like many fictional corporations in the Grand Theft Auto universe, Burger Shot draws heavy inspiration from real-world businesses while exaggerating their most recognizable traits for comedic effect. At first glance, Burger Shot appears to be a parody of several American fast food chains rather than being a direct copy of one single company. The most obvious influence is Burger King. The name itself immediately invites comparison. Both brands focus heavily on hamburgers, feature prominent burger-themed branding, and operate as large-scale fast food franchises. Many fans have viewed Burger Shot as Rockstar's version of Burger King, especially during the earlier GTA games, where the restaurant's identity centered almost entirely around burgers. However, Burger Shot's influence extends far beyond a single chain. Elements of McDonald's can be seen throughout the company's structure and presentation. Much like McDonald's, Burger Shot is portrayed as a massive national corporation with locations spread across multiple cities and states. Its recognizable logo, extensive advertising campaigns, and near constant presence throughout the GTA universe mirror the cultural dominance that McDonald's has achieved in the real world. Some fans have also pointed to similarities with Hardee's and Carl's Jr. when examining Burger Shot's marketing style during the HD Universe era. These real-world chains have been known for promoting oversized burgers and indulgent menu items, often emphasizing excess as a selling point. Burger Shot takes this concept to an extreme, creating products like the Bleeder and the Heartstopper that parody the industry's tendency to market increasingly larger meals. Rockstar's goal was never to recreate any one company exactly. Instead, Burger Shot serves as a satirical representation of the fast food industry as a whole. The exaggerated advertisements, questionable nutritional standards, and obsession with larger portions all reflect criticisms that have been directed at major restaurant chains for decades. By combining elements from multiple corporations into a single fictional company, Rockstar created a brand that feels instantly familiar to players regardless of where they live. This familiarity is what makes the satire so effective. Players immediately recognize the corporate language, the marketing tactics, and the business practices being exaggerated. Burger Shot feels believable because it resembles companies that already exist in the real world. At the same time, Rockstar pushes those ideas just far enough into absurdity to make the joke obvious. The Heartstopper isn't simply a burger, it's a parody of the industry's obsession with excess. The company's slogans aren't merely catchphrases, they're exaggerated versions of aggressive advertising campaigns seen throughout modern consumer culture. Ultimately, Burger Shot represents Rockstar's broader approach to world building. Rather than inventing something completely unrealistic, the developers start with recognizable aspects of everyday life and exaggerate them until they become satire. The result is a fictional corporation that feels strangely authentic despite being one of the most ridiculous businesses ever created in gaming, and that's exactly why Burger Shot has remained memorable for so many years. As Grand Theft Auto 6 ushers players back into the state of Leonida and a modern interpretation of Vice City, one question has been on the minds of longtime fans. What role will Burger Shot play in Rockstar's newest world? While Rockstar has remained secretive about many aspects of GTA 6, history suggests that Burger Shot is likely to return in some capacity. The company has appeared throughout multiple generations of Grand Theft Auto games, surviving transitions between universes, console generations, and major changes in Rockstar's design philosophy. At this point, Burger Shot is more than just a recurring business, it's one of the defining brands of the franchise. The return to Vice City makes Burger Shot's future especially interesting. The company's first appearance occurred in Vice City during the events of 1986. Now, decades later, players will once again explore the city where the franchise's most famous fast food chain first emerged. If Burger Shot does return, GTA 6 presents an opportunity for Rockstar to expand the company's lore even further. Modern technology allows for larger and more detailed worlds than ever before. Restaurants could feature fully explorable interiors, more interactive NPC behavior, and expanded advertisements and deeper environmental storytelling. Burger Shot locations could potentially become living parts of the game world rather than simple background landmarks. The company's rivalry with Up and Atom may also continue to evolve. As both brands have become major fixtures of the HD universe, GTA 6 could further develop this competition between the two chains through advertisements, business districts, sponsorships, and in-world marketing campaigns. Rockstar has always enjoyed creating believable corporate ecosystems, and Burger Shot remains one of the most important pieces of that puzzle. There is also the possibility that Burger Shot's satire will evolve to reflect modern trends in the real-world fast food industry. There is also the possibility that Burger Shot's satire will evolve to reflect modern trends in the real-world fast food industry. Rockstar has consistently used the company as a vehicle for social commentary, adapting its advertisements and products to parody contemporary consumer culture. New menu items, marketing campaigns, and corporate scandals could easily become part of the company's next chapter. Regardless of how prominently it appears, Burger Shot's legacy is already secure. Few fictional corporations have achieved the level of recognition that Burger Shot enjoys among gamers. The chain has become as synonymous with Grand Theft Auto as Ammunition, Sprunk, Cluck and Bell, and many of the franchise's other iconic brands. For over 2 decades, Burger Shot has served as Rockstar's exaggerated reflection of fast food culture. Each new game has added another layer into its history, transforming a simple restaurant into one of the most recognizable businesses in gaming. Whether players are ordering a burger, driving past a billboard, listening to a radio commercial, or simply spotting the familiar logo from a distance, Burger Shot has always been there. And if history is any indication, it will continue serving customers in the Grand Theft Auto universe for years to come. As Grand Theft Auto continues to evolve, Burger Shot will likely continue evolving alongside it. New cities, new characters, and new stories may come and go, but the familiar sight of a Burger Shot sign on the horizon will always feel like home for GTA fans. After all, in a world filled with crime, chaos, and corruption, sometimes all you need is a burger, even if it might stop your heart.
Yeah, cause I got it like that. Flow so smooth like I got it on tap. Yeah, and I'ma say it be a good night while I'm on my Yingling, while I'm drinking Bud Light.